is known as the homecoming. Who is the poet? Shanta Acharya. So Shanta Acharya's poem titled The Homecoming is again called as another deeply symbolic poem. Right. So the word homecoming usually means what? What do you mean by that? Returning to one's home, right? After a long absence, right? So in this poem also, if you see that, uh, it seems like the same kind of emotion connected to the poet. However, home is not a place, but if you say that what a state of spiritual belonging, isn't it? Spiritual belonging, a return to God or the divine presence, or you can say that after a journey of self exploration, after a journey of self exploration, doubt, and distance, isn't it? So, if you say that the poet uses many of the terms in the poem, like if you talk about spiritual return, right? So, what we can find out here, the speaker has traveled across cities, the speaker has also visited holy places and searched through prayers, right? Only to realize that what she wanted outside, what she wanted outside was always within himself or herself, isn't it? So, she pointed a line here that my loneliness has brought me back to where I had begun. My life or my loneliness has brought me back to where I had begun. This this particular line actually confirms that what the poem ends where it all started, isn't it? What does it say? My loneliness has brought me back to where I had begun. So she confirms that the poem ends where it all started at the doorstep of the divine, right? And that symbolizes nothing but a homecoming. Got my point? So, not only that spiritual connection, you also find out emotional reunion. Emotional reunion means the poet speaks directly to God with a tone of what? With a tone of retreat, means regret, love, and hope, isn't it? So she remembers she remembers the connection she once had and expresses a desire to return to that pure bond. Pure bond, you understand? Pure connection means pure attachment, you can say. Right. Like she pointed, how can I forget that it was you who taught me to accept my need of you? How can I forget that it was you who taught to accept my need of you? Right. So that line indicates nothing but the emotional reunion. Then third is called as the end of a long search. End of a long search. Like the entire poem is nothing but a metaphysical journey. So metaphysical journey means called as a spiritual journey. Meta means beyond and physical means body. So beyond the physical journey. So in that case, you can say it's a spiritual journey, isn't it? The entire poem is a metaphorical journey, and you can say that what the poet stated that one filled with desire, one filled with self-doubt, and one filled with realization. When she says that what means the line where she says that I'm already done, I'm already done. It implies that what her search is complete. I'm already done. It indicates nothing but her search is complete. She was found. She has found her way back home. She has found her way back home, back to her inner truth, back to her faith, back to her divine connection. Got my point? So you can see that the poet's observation in the poem is what universality of faith. When she points out or when the poet recognizes that every religion and holy places seek what the same truth. Seek what the same truth, a connection with the divine, a connection with the God, right? D1. D1. So what we can find out a connection with the divine. So the poet here lights. The poet lights candles and prays everywhere. So that's what you would find out, and that symbolizes nothing but a unity in spiritual desire. Unity, spiritual desire, or spiritual longing. The second one you can point out, it's called the human nature. Human nature to wonder. Human nature to wonder. Wonder means what? That called as moving here and there. It is the human nature. So besides you are saying that universality of faith, we also find out human nature to wonder. So the poet acknowledges that humans often look outward, look outward, travel very far, and such in the wrong places before understanding that what means humans need most, right? So what human need most, that lies within the human being, isn't it? So that's what is called as the poet gives nothing but the key terms here called as a human nature to wonder. So then third is called as a God's silence. God's silence, God's silence what? God's silence presence. In that case, you can say, although the speaker often feels God's silence, she realizes that what even silence can be a form of what? Communication. Like we most of the time do the silent prayer. That's nothing but a means of communication. And that God has never stopped or watching over her. Right. So then fourth, you can say it's called the memory and forgiveness. Right. So when you say that memory, forgiveness, and forgetfulness. Now, what they are, now the poet reflects on how memory can disappear, isn't it? So, and how we often forget our spiritual roots. The spiritual roots means what? Where we belonging, isn't it? But God remains unchanged. God remains unchanged, and they love us unconditionally. So they don't forget us, right? Sometimes we get distracted, but God do not means God do not do what God means, do not lead the hands of the human being. So at last, you can say that the title, "The Homecoming," is a it's beautifully capturing what the central idea of the poem by stating that a return to faith, uh, what you can say, a return to faith or to the divine, or you can say to inner peace, or called as a to inner self, isn't it? So the poet's observation and observations are nothing but poet's observations are nothing but a universal. It's not only the poet experiences the kind of feelings, isn't it? So it is the kind of feelings that presents in each and every human being, and that's something called as a profound. Profound means something huge, right? Even in our moments of doubt, the divine patiently waits for our return, right? So welcoming us with open arms when we are finally ready to come home. So it's something like what you would find out. The poet points out the communication that held between her with the God, right? That is. Let's move to the poem. What the poem is all about. So total 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's go with the lines here. I can say that it's a 12 lines poem, and the first line stated that in every city I visit, in every cathedral or mosque, pagoda or temple, gurudwara or synagogues, right? Now you can find out that the poet conveys her feeling by stating that wherever she goes, in every city or place, So she visits different religious places and she points out some names that called as a cathedral. What do you mean by cathedral? That called as a church, right? Second is called as a mosque. We know that mosque is referring to the means a place where Muslim people uh, does the prayer, isn't it? Then you talk about temples, pagoda or temples. Then you are saying that gurudwara or synagogues. So Gurudwara and synagogue. So we talk about Singh Sabha, isn't it? So it's a very simple term to understand that when the poet conveys the message that she visits to different city, different places, and she finds out that the different religious places, right? So she points out that in every space, en route to my self-discovery, right? In every space and route to my self-discovery, I light a candle, offer a prayer, right? Now, what does she want to convey? That on her journey to understand herself better, on her journey to understand herself better, she stops at these sacred places. Sacred places means holy places, right? So where she lights a candle and says a prayer, chants prayer. So, with every prayer, I wish for things, some material, others not so tangible. For myself or for others, I have loved more than you. So, the poet stated that in her prayers, she asked for both physical things. What are those physical things? That she said, I wish for things, some material, others not so tangible. What do you mean by some material, others not so tangible? So she points out that both physical things, right? Like you can talk about success, health, and wealth. Success, health, and wealth, and emotional or spiritual bonds. Well, when we talk about emotional or spiritual bonds, like you can say peace or love, peace or love. Sometimes also the poet points out that for others I have loved more than you. Even sometimes the poet even prays more for others than you. Than you means what? Than God. Isn't it? So the poet stated that all through the arts of my worship, all through the arts of my worship, I converse with you. I converse with you about my family and friends whom you have gifted to me. So, what does the poet say in the fourth part? That all through the arts of her worship, so she converts with her God, right? About about my family or her family and friends whom God has gifted to the poet. So the poet, beautifully point out that a narrative that during her worship or prayer to the God, she talks to the God. So, and she talks to the God about the people she loves, isn't it? So, who are the people she loves? Her family, her friends, who are nothing but the blessings to her, and that blessings is nothing but given by the God, isn't it? So the poet also says that I don't know why I presume you, why I presume you will listen more carefully to my entreaties in a foreign land. I'm the one on holiday, not you, isn't it? So I don't know why I presume you will listen more carefully to my entreaties in a foreign land. I'm the one I'm the one on holiday, not you. So what does the poet want to convey in this line? The poet states that she visits to the place, she visits to the foreign land. She says that what she doesn't know. Why? And she thinks, the poet thinks, God will listen to her prayers. Right? So God will listen to her prayers more when she is traveling. When she is traveling, she is the one when taking a break or traveling and not God. So she has taken the break in her hard life. She visits to different places and enjoy, not God. So, but she believes that God presents everywhere. So that's why she prays to the God. And she believes that God listens to her more when she is traveling, isn't it? So I share my thoughts with you. I share my thoughts with you, hoping that in the end you will talk to me directly, not through your silence. I share my thoughts with you, hoping that what in the end you will talk to me directly, not through your silence. So the poet keeps talking to God. The poet keeps talking to God, and the poet desires or hopes that what someday God will speak to her. God will speak to her, right? Speak to her clearly, not remain silent, right? So she also points out that I know you love me. I know you love me for sometimes you respond to the smallest desire of mine, isn't it? So it's a kind of a communication with the God. So the poet says that I believe you love me because sometimes you fulfill even my smallest wishes. How can I forget that it was you who taught me to accept my need of you? So, how can I forget that it was you, so you means God, who helped me understand how much I need your presence in my life, isn't it? So, I pray to recall our state of bliss. I pray to recall our state of bliss before I was born, before I demanded my own life separate from you. So the poet states in the first line, I pray to recall. I, I pray to recall means I try to remember. Pray to recall means try to remember. Remember what? The perfect happiness. So state of bliss before I was born. So state of bliss before I was born means the perfect happiness we shared before I was born, right? Before I asked to live a life separate from you. So the poet believes that she is nothing but the part of the God before birth, isn't it? So when she gets the birth, or when she birth, at the same time she detaches from the God, and she believes that what means she believes that what the God is always with her, right? And that's why when God has given the perfect happiness, isn't it? So I try my best to remember, but memory plays tricks with me. I try my best to remember, but my memory plays trick with me. If you got hurt, you never showed me. Instead, you loved me. Constantly kept watch over me as I lived and got hurt. So the poet, in a very simple note, stated that how she struggles to remember that time, even if God felt hurt God felt hurt by the choices of man's poet. What happened? The God never showed it. God never showed it. Instead, God kept loving and you can say protecting the poet as the poet made mistakes and got hurt, isn't it? So, in that case, the poet finally put a question there. How was I know? How was I to know in advance the consequences of my deeds? How was I to know in advance the consequences of my deeds? Nobody even knew about it, isn't it? Or knows about it. The poet stated that I did not know what would happen because of my actions. I had to learn. I had to learn through what? I had to learn through experience. Isn't it? If you do not do the mistake, then how do you know that whether you have done wrong or right? Right. So, and that's what all happens when you do the mistake and you learn the experience, isn't it? So, the poet finally stated that my loneliness had brought me back. My loneliness had brought me back to where I had begun. I have nowhere else to go. Don't let me turn away again on another journey of self discovery, for I'm already done. So, self discovery, I'm already done. So, it indicates that the poet feels of loneliness, and the poet feels of loneliness has brought her back to God, brought her back to God. And the poet stated that she has no other path left. So, and she requests God that please do not allow me wander off again, wander off or move anywhere again. I search of myself. I have already searched of myself. I have found out what I was looking for, isn't it? Got my point? So this is nothing but the end of the point where the poet finally uh, expresses her desire that she doesn't want to leave the place again, right? She wants to become unite with God, right? So you can say that this is the homecoming is a kind of a point which is spiritually motivating. So spiritually motivating to the readers. It tells about the poet's spiritual journey even. Even you can say that by doing the spiritual journey, the poet throughout the poem stated about her travel, her prayer, her pursuance to God, tries to reconnect with God. So the poet reflects that how her relationship with God, so recognizes her mistakes and the distance, separation, and ultimately the poet returns to a place of surrender, returns to a place of surrender and deep realization. So the poet accepts that she has always needed and been loved by the divine presence, isn't it? So that is what you would find out the whole poem is all about. If I go to the means, uh, the critical thought about the poem means the same thing. You can say that it evolves uh, with the relationship between the speaker and the divine, right? So it's a nothing but a spiritual journey and a spiritual recovery, sorry, discovery. Spiritual journey of self-discovery also you can say, and the changing relational relationship between the speaker and the divine. It shows a kind of a moment. It shows a kind of a moment from outward searching to inward realization. Outward searching to inward realization. So once you understand yourself, once you find out, once you motivate yourself, you don't need to go out anywhere else, right? So you must have a faith on yourself. You must understand the humility, and you also accept the divine presence, right? After a period of nothing but an emotional wandering, isn't it? So that's what you would find out throughout the poem. So if you say that uh, the poem where the poet's tone is nothing but reflective, what do you mean by reflective? Reflective means what? Reflecting to the past, remembering to the past, thinking about her journey to different places. That's called as a reflective, nostalgia, and personal. Isn't it reflective, personal? So, because the poet uh, expresses her own inner experience, that means she wanders outward, but she finds out everything in her inward, isn't it? So the poem reads like a conversational. The poem reads like a confession that the poet does. Confession, you understand? So even the poet is very emotional and honest. So there is a sense of easily affected and raw, honest. Easily affected and raw. Raw means you understand kancha. Kancha. Pura. You can say that real, right? Real, honest. So, and you also find out desiring and hopeful, yearning and hopeful. Like you can say, despite the confusion and silence, you can find out there is a hope for divine presence, right? Then these are nothing but you find out when you read the poet's writing in the poem The Homecoming, where the tone is made of in such a manner. The tone that you draw. Second, it's called as the structure and style. Well, so, how does the poet use the structure and style? You can say it is the poem which is having free verse. Free verse, you understand? No regular rhyming scheme, isn't it? The poem has no rhyming, so or fixed meter. no rhyme or fixed meter. So that reflects the poet's of free flowing thoughts and emotional state. Free flowing thought and emotional state. Second, it's called as it is a conversational style, dialogue, like you talk to others. The speaker talks directly to whom? God, right? In an intimate means a very close, almost journal-like manner, like the journal we write, similar to that. Then third is called as a universal religious references, like use of cathedrals. Here you find out that myriad religious places have been given: cathedrals, synagogues, church, mosque, right, temple. So those imply a belief in the university, believe in universality, right, of a divine connection beyond religion, isn't it? Then you talk about symbolism and imagery in the poem. So if I talk about symbolism, like the poet uses the uh, uh, phrase called lightening a candle. So lighting a candle is nothing but, what do you mean by lighting a candle? It means symbolizing hope, right? So prayer, hope, prayer, and offering one's inner self to God. You have surrendered yourself before the God. That's nothing but lighting a candle, right? Second, it's called a foreign land. When you talk about foreign lands, referring nothing but to unfamiliar places, both physically and emotionally, isn't it? Perhaps it indicates a metaphor for feeling spiritually distant. Spiritually distant. You want to make yourself happy, so you visit to different places, right? Then you also find out another symbolism. It's called as a silence. When we talk about silence, we find out represents divine mystery, right? Divine mystery, or you can say perceived absence of what response, perceived absence of response, which opposite or contrast with the poet's need for what clear signs, isn't it? So then you would find out the last one, which is called as a memory, that plays a crucial role, right? As the poet tries to recall our original closeness with the sense of God before the distractions of life that began in her life, isn't it? Now, in that case, the poem can be seen as a modern spiritual reflection where the poet critiques her own attempts, right, to search for God through external means, right? Or only to realize that what God was always present. So patiently waited for her to return. Right? Patiently waited for her return. It is a gentle reminder that true self-discovery is not going to so many places, right? But you need to make yourself peace in words. And that divine love is silent but powerful, isn't it? So, in that case, if you say Santa Acharya's point is nothing but a very, philosophical and existential. Philosophical and existential, that puts a question or raising question about faith, raising questions about identity, isn't it? And the human divine connections. It reflects what the modern confusion dilemma. So, living in a fast-paced global world, people often turn to what? People often turn to rituals or journeys that desiring answer that lie within, isn't it? The poet doesn't reject religion. The poet doesn't reject religion, but rather transcend its boundaries. What do you mean by transcend its boundaries? Limited its boundaries, right? So, and holding a personal relationship with the divine, right? Holding a personal relationship with the God, that divine that goes beyond formal worship, right? So, her emotional honesty and the spiritual maturity make this point nothing but a quietly powerful, isn't it? So therefore, we can consider that the poem is a poignant. The poem is presenting spiritual reflection on the human condition, right? So the need for divine connection and the journey of returning to faith after after straying. It requests readers to do what? To stop desiring outside, right? Outside for what is already within. So, and to trust the same God, quiet and enduring presence of divine, enduring presence of divine God means that God is loving to the God, isn't it? So that those are the things that you would find out. I'll just give you some of the poetic devices. The poetic devices present in this is called as a imagery, IMAGRY, like you can say in every cathedral or mosque, pagoda or temple, gurudwara or synagogue. So the poet presents nothing but a clear images of different places of worship from around the world, helping us nothing but to visualize the spiritual journey, isn't it? Second is called as symbolism, like I said, lighting a candle, journey, foreign land. These are the things you would find out which exemplify or which symbolizes nothing but a hope, prayer, and inner devotion. So journey indicates nothing but a identity. So foreign land indicates nothing but a unfamiliarity, or you can say spiritual distance, isn't it? So that's symbolism. Then apostrophe, apostrophe, that we can find out in a line where it is stated, I converse with you and I share my thoughts with you. I converse with you, I share my thoughts with you. So the poet is directly addressing God, right? So expressing personal thoughts and emotions. So when we say that apostrophe, apostrophe is what? Addressing someone who is not present or cannot respond, right? Often used when speaking to God or abstract ideas. Like sometimes people also talk to God, isn't it? So can be known as an apostrophe, right? Then you would find out repetition. When you say repetition, like you would find out the phrase or the line in every. So you would find out the phrases that use repetition for emphasizing. So in every is repeated in the first few lines to show the what poet's continuous effort in different places. Even the poet uses the line called as begins the line using with the repetitive letter called I, right? In is frequently used to do what? Stress the personal nature of the journey. So wherever she mentions I is nothing but indicating personal, right? So even paradox is again another poetic devices. It indicates about a statement that appears contradictory or opposing, but contains a deeper truth. Deeper truth. So, like you can say, I'm the one on holiday. I'm the one on holiday, not you. So, this is the ironic line. This ironic line suggests that what? While the poet is physically traveling, God is always present and never takes a break, isn't it? God never takes a break. So then you would also find out personification in personification, like giving human qualities to non-human beings. Like you can say, memory plays a trick with me, right? So here, memory is personified as something with a will of its own, right? So then you would find out irony. When we say that irony, it is indicating a contrast between expectations and reality. Expectations and reality, like you can find out, you respond to the smallest desire of mind. You respond to the smallest desire of mind. So, despite earlier expressing that God is silent, but on the other side, we are saying that the speaker realizes that divine responses may come in small, quiet forms, not always the loud or obvious answer, right? So she expects, isn't it? Then you talk about it, which is called as allusion. Allusion is generally known as an indirect reference to a concept or belief. Indirect reference to a concept or belief. Like you can say, before I demanded my own life, separate from you. Before I demanded my own life, separate from you. This is an allusion to the soul's state before birth, right? possibly hinting at what the spiritual or metaphysical beliefs about what union with the divine. Beside that, you also find out enjambment. When we say that enjambment, we all know that the meaning of enjambment is what? The continuation of a line or phrase from one line to the next without any means, punctuation mark or pause. Right? Like you can say, it creates a flow of thought. It creates reflecting the poet's natural and honest expression. So, like you can say, the line where it is stated, with every prayer I wish for things. With every prayer I wish for things, some materials, others not so tangible. Isn't it? This is known as an enjambment, right? So beside that, the next one is called the first person storytelling narrative, right? So you can say the use of I to create a personal and introspective tone, isn't it? So that makes the point feel what? Very close and heartfelt. So finally, if I say that the poem uses imagery, alliteration, sorry, symbolism, apostrophe, repetition, personification, enjambment, paradox, irony, all these effectively express the poet's emotion, effectively express the poet's emotional and spiritual conflict, her desiring for connection and the realization of divine love. Okay, so that's what all is called as the home.